Hey everyone, in this video we're going to take a look at the second story from The Road to Latin, Chapter 1. It's called Schola Americana II. So again, like I mentioned in my previous video on Schola Americana 1, what I would recommend if you haven't taken a look at it yet is looking at my new site, Nova Latin. This is where I have my own textbook, and it takes these stories and it includes an English translation. As you go further in the grammar, I'll highlight cases for you so you can understand the grammar a little better and different sorts of videos, right? So again, if you want a full English translation, feel free to take a look at it there. Just follow this link and you'll be able to find it pretty quickly. And I'll put another link in the description. But what I wanted to cover in this video is the second part of chapter 1. So in Schola Americana 1, rather, you got introduced to some of the new vocab and a story about an American classroom. Schola Americana 2 is just doing the same thing, but continuing it with a little bit different vocab. Specifically, you're going to start to see singulars versus plurals. So I'm going to walk you through the story. Like I always say, the first thing you should do, though, is learn the vocab as best as you possibly can. It's very difficult to understand what's going on if you don't know what the words mean. It's even more important, I would say, than the grammar, right? Even if you know all the grammar rules, if you don't know what the words mean, you're kind of stuck. So I would start by knowing all the vocab, practice it, do what you have to do. And again, if you use my, my textbook, there's a Quizlet there for you, different things you can use to practice it. So I would start there, then read through the grammar. And whenever you're ready to work your way through the story, the first thing that I would recommend you do is read it aloud. So read it aloud so you can practice your Latin pronunciation. If you can find a classmate, read it to them and have them read the story back to you so you can practice your listening and understanding. If you can't find a classmate, find anyone, like I said before, annoy a family member, whatever you can do to practice just speaking the language and hearing it, it'll really help a lot. So let's dive into this story. You have Julia est discipula. There's your first line. Julia is a student, right? We've seen this phrase before in Schola Americana 1. We were introduced to these two characters, Julia and Cornelia. So you have Julia est discipula, Cornelia est discipula. Cornelia is a student. So if you're looking at the picture to the right, you can imagine these two girls. Probably the one, I believe the one standing up is Julia, if I remember correctly. I would imagine the one to her right sitting at the desk, or rather our right, her left, is probably Cornelia, but they're just two students is the idea. But now we have something interesting. Since we have two of them, you're going to get your first plural vocab words and plural verb endings in the next line. So in other words, every word we've seen so far in terms of nouns, they've really all ended in an A. Julia, Cornelia, discipula in this story, they're all singular. But now we have discipulae sunt Cornelia et Julia. So something different is happening here. Instead of a discipula, we have discipulae. That's the difference between singular and plural in Latin in this particular instance. So when you see discipulae, right, the AE ending, it doesn't mean a student, it means the students, plural, right? Because now we're talking about two of them. So when you say discipulae sunt Cornelia et Julia, you're saying the students are Cornelia and Julia. Or another way you could translate it is Cornelia and Julia are students. It's going to get you the same meaning either way. Then you have puellae Americanae sunt discipulae. Again, we've seen puella, singular, now we have puellae. And Americana, singular, now we have Americanae, plural. So when you say puellae Americanae sunt discipulae, you're saying the American girls, the puellae Americanae, are students, discipulae, right? Very straightforward. Then we have discipulae bonae sunt. Again, plural. So the students, the discipulae, are good, bonae, or you could even translate it, they are good students. And again, if you think back to Schola Americana 1, the first story in this chapter, it mentioned that they are both good students. So now we continue on. You have discipulae stant. And again, this is something we want to pay attention to, the verbs. So stant is a verb. It means they stand. You might remember in Schola Americana 1, the first story, we saw stat, right? Which means he, she, or it is standing. Stand with an nt is the plural, so it means they stand. It's sort of like est and sunt. If you think to that previous paragraph we were just reading, est ends in a t. It means she, in this case, is doing something. She is, rather. Sunt means they are. It ends in an nt. That's what's happening here. So when you have discipulae stand, you're saying the students are standing, plural. Then you have magistra quoque stat. The teacher, singular, notice how magistra ends in an A, the teacher also, quoque, stat, is standing. So the teacher also stands, or the teacher is also standing. Scholae Americanae sunt magnae, right? American schools, plural again, Scholae Americanae, are big. Magni, they're large, they're big. Fenestra magni sunt, et januae parvae sunt. So fenestrae, right, windows, are big. Magni, you can say the windows are big. And the januae, the doors, are parvae, small, right? So again, it's just describing the room here. The windows are big, fenestrae magnae sunt, and the doors are small, januae parvae sunt, right? It's just trying to give you a sense of scale. I guess in this classroom, they got some big windows and small doors, apparently. Then you have januae sunt clausae, sed fenestrae sunt apertae. And again, these are basically pluralizing sentences we've already seen from Schola Americana I, the first story in this chapter. So januae sunt clausae means the doors, plural, are closed, but the windows, the fenestrae, sunt apertae, they are open. And again, it's kind of relating to the picture that we have to the right, not so much anymore. It's talking a little bit more about the entire school, but it's just pluralizing sentences that we saw originally as singular in Schola Americana I. Right now we're just pluralizing them. So there's nothing too crazy happening here in terms of the Latin. It's still just trying to wrap your head around a singular versus a plural noun. And if you want more about that, please dive into my grammar notes. You can find them on the textbook on my site. But the simple form here is A versus AE. A is singular, AE is plural. When you're talking about nouns and adjectives. And for verbs, the T would be a singular verb ending, NT would be a plural verb ending. But once you get the hang of that, again, it all starts with the vocab. Once you get the hang of that, you can translate these pretty easily, right? There's nothing too crazy happening. It's basically taking sentences you've already seen in the first part of the story and just making them plural. If you have any questions at all about this, again, feel free to go to my website and look at the English translation, or feel free to put a comment below. I'll help you however I can. I'm happy to do so. Just let me know. Otherwise, keep working on it and you'll get better the more you do this. Good luck.